Hi, it's Heather here. Oh shit. Oh, where am I? Oh, fucker.
Hello, it's Heather here with Underwater Panther, and today I wanted to go over the introverted intuition or NI and the extroverted sensing or SE axis. So SI stores sensory details, and SE represents the short-term memory storage and access. And then NI stores conclusions and axioms. So we were talking about memory storage. SE users tend to have a short-term memory storage, and SI users, they are considered to have a larger RAM of storage for memory. You can actually break down the personality types this way and then understand in their older years if they're going to get Alzheimer's or dementia. So how we store our memories is very important to understand. So I am kind of breaking down how NI and SE and even SI plays out for those types of users. So NI dominant, so introverted intuition in your hero cognitive function, which is Aquarius and INTJ, and Pisces and INFJ. So I have to use astrology and psychology terminology. um, okay, so the NI DOMs, Aquarius and Pisces, they are all about internalization of meaning. So what each type will always have stored in memory and have in mind. So the INTJ or Aquarius, they tend to store the conclusions and the emotional logic. And then Pisces or INFJs, they store the conclusions and the rational logic. And then what each type will always need to rediscover or to be reminded of: INTJs, the rational logic and the sensory details. And for the INFJ or Pisces, they will need to rediscover or be reminded of the emotional logic and the sensory details. So just from that alone, it seems like the emotional logic and the sensory details for a Pisces, they have FE, extroverted feeling parent. So although the Pisces is a water sign, so they are already in the feeling and emotional world astrologically, and then psychologically they are considered the idealist. So it's a watery, ideal type of personality type, but they are not storing emotional logic or sensory details. So they can get lost in the details, like they just don't want to look at it. They're more about the overarching meaning behind things. So although they are focused on FE, everyone else's emotions and feelings, they are not storing emotional logic. So it is harder for a Pisces or an INFJ to understand how they themselves feel internally. You ask a Pisces or INFJ, how do you feel about this? And it's hard for them to, they're probably going to pause for a while or spit out something that seems like the right thing to say. Aquariuses, on the other hand, they are more responsible with how they feel within themselves. Pisces feel responsible for how other people are feeling. They want to have they feel responsible for how everyone else is feeling in a group for a Pisces. For a Aquarius or an INTJ, they feel more responsible for how they themselves feel. So they are much more in tune with their own internal feelings on things. So feeling can actually, how you feel about something is also a identity thing. So Pisces tend to struggle more with who they are. They will tend to lose themselves in other people, in relationships and friendships. And Aquarius or INTJs, they will tend to not lose themselves as much as a Pisces in a relationship. So their identity is more solid within themselves than the Pisces. But they both have issues with storing sensory details, because they both have the introverted intuition hero and the extroverted sensing inferior. So inferior is where your insecurities and weaknesses exist within your ego, within the four sides of your ego. So you've got the hero, parent, child, and inferior. Today I'm focusing on the hero, which is what we are automatically gifted at, and the inferior, which is where our weaknesses are at. So introverted intuition, or NI, so the NI is subjective perception, taking in or retrieving of information. So NI users find stability in their imagination, and they find exploration within the extroverted sensing. So they gain context through SE, and they are highly imaginative through their NI. So NI stabilizes the abstract. Aquarius and Pisces are both abstract in their temperament. So the air signs and the water signs are abstract, which means that they can abstract ideas and thoughts and solutions to problems more into the future. Both of these categories, air and water, temperamentally are future focused personality types, so they have a hard time being in the moment. They are always anxious about the future, and they're not really worried. Their memories suck when it comes to the past. So NI stabilizes the abstract, and that causes them to narrow down their ideas and goals. They need freedom in their thoughts and actions, NI users. So I would suggest to never lock them in. Don't ever tell an NI user how they think about something. Be sure to ask them what they think. So NISE tend to have chaotic physical lives due to being so cerebral and abstract, even outside of themselves. They're physical. They have a hard time maintaining their physical environment, wherever that case may be. And NESI users, they have chaotic thoughts within their head. It's more of an internal chaos. They can look outside, externally, like they're more organized, but in reality, their internal is absolutely chaotic. So, I don't know. You have to live with your mind, so I would prefer not to have thoughts that I couldn't control and have a physical chaotic life, which I've battled OCD. It kind of comes in waves. It reminds you of like ADHD, just trying to stay organized, and it's like you're losing stuff. Geminis and Pisces have this funny thing where they both tend to misplace things. They tend to lose things a lot. That's that. Uh, Probably the abstraction, future focused, getting screwed up in SE. Although Geminis have SE child, so they're more playful with their physical environment, and Aquarius and Pisces are both just like freaked out by their external environment. Cancers also have SE child, so they are more playful with their physical environment. They don't feel as threatened, but they can still be childish. So introverted intuition, I'm going to go over what that is again briefly. Their insights are associated with a gut level sense of conviction and certainty. So they have insights with an I, and then the gut level reaction would be the SE. An I apprehends ideas, patterns, and perspectives that emerge from within. So it is a more unconscious process. Experiences, not necessarily physical experiences, trigger certain thought patterns, and then the individual creates images. So for example, how that plays out for me, I will hear a song and it will take me back to a time frame, which will then bring up a bunch of memories and faces. And I'm always triggered by I don't know, it can be something physical, something I drive by, it can be a song. It's interesting because it's like, where are all these memories stored? Like, I have no real access. Like, if I consciously try to remember something, I struggle, and then it'll be like come out of nowhere, something will trigger it, and then I'll just have all these floods of memories and details. So it's interesting how that works. They have a strong sense of foresight, actually uses sight and visuals prominently, like a seer, to see the bigger picture. So an eye is all about the visuals and the pictures and the mind mapping and the connecting the dots. It's really mind mapping, like when you take a piece of paper and you start with a central idea and then you kind of jet off with other smaller ideas and then you map them all together. It is like, that's how their thinking process works. So NI is users are very focused on their path. I want to know what you're doing so I can know what I want to do. NI users are really, I think, in my opinion, they're more about the network rather than a hierarchy. Hierarchies are like, it's like climbing the ladder. Aquariuses and INFJs, they are introverted, so they don't exactly want to be the leader per se. Although they are like the tip of the spear of society, they're very innovative and try to create new philosophies. But they're all about network. It's all about, they want everyone on the same page. They want everyone to have the same power, and it's an interesting thing to think about. So, oh yeah, so that's why I got into that. The networking. So they tend to network a lot. They do want to know what other people are doing. So like for me, for many years, like 10 or 12 years, I networked hardcore on Facebook. I just I wanted everyone like on different spectrums within their beliefs. So like atheism to very Christian or Catholic people. I wanted everyone, even like in nutrition, I had naturopathic doctors, and then I had people that didn't believe in that. So I just wanted everyone from all various levels of education and beliefs. And so I networked for many years, gathering people like that in my network, what they were doing with their businesses, how were they promoting things, how did they, creatively promote themselves, through video or writing or whatever. So that was very interesting to me. That's how I kind of educated myself on society in general. Where are people at in their beliefs and their businesses, etc. So NI processes information in the deeper recesses of the mind, so it can take longer to respond and not quick to make decisions. Ask them a question and they will probably not answer for a while or avoid the question because they're trying to, it's like they are very perceptive and they have many different perceptions going on in their mind. So it's like they're very aware of outcomes to a degree, I think, because they're so future focused. So it just takes them a little bit longer to respond. And that's also because for Pisces, they're not in tune with their own feelings on things. They're extremely logical, more than you would think. And they're introverted. That's just how they operate. NI has tunnel vision and a hard time paying attention to the present. They're more worried about the future. NI weaves together information to construct novel theories, visions, and insights. So NI users need to say and explore what they want. NI needs freedom. Never lock them in somewhere physically or mentally. So I'll leave that where it lays. On a subconscious level, NI users collect data in the moment, NISE, which makes a vague book of text, yet they are pulled back from the moment and are living in the bigger meaning above the physical. So, like Aquarius and INTJs, they just don't, they're in it but not of it. They constantly feel, they're worried about the bigger picture and the bigger ideas rather than the petty details. That's just how they are. They are constantly experiencing the meaning of things rather than what is happening right now. They're not collecting what is, and is the biggest reason they cannot remember all of the small details. Their ideas replace the physical in a sense, so when they look at those physical things, they cannot take it in, where their judgmental ways come into play. They try to find meaning and add reasonings or deep dive into everything, even when it's not there. And I expect deep connections, the meaning of the thing. It doesn't matter what they are physically doing necessarily. So, NI users are definitely better one-on-one with people taking a deep dive rather than being in a group scenario where it stays kind of topical and just kind of like the petty details of everyday life. It's like mundane, and where the bigger, more phenomenal ideas that we can talk about, like who are you really? So they're always deep diving. They can seem very stubborn due to not realizing not everyone has the same meanings or thinking. Yeah, it can be, we are Aquarius and INTJ. They are the least amount percentage wise in the population, so it's like there's not as many of those personality types, so it can be very frustrating. You feel like the black sheep, the oddball. You don't feel like you're meant to be where you are sometimes. Like, why am I so different? They're very creative, and they're not, they're just a minimal part of the population. It's like they can tend to just seem so out of place, and it can be frustrating. Okay, so NI dominant types, introverted, intuition, hero types, they are good at intellectual clarity, accurate interpretation of perceptions, and they have visionary insight. And then introverted, intuition, and inferior types, they can suffer from internal confusion, inappropriate attribution of meaning, and grandiose vision. So that would be like Aries, for example. So introverted intuition, or NI, and introverted sensing, or SI, commonalities. So I'm going to be jumping into NI versus SI. Both, well, let me go back for a sec. So SI stores sensory details and NI stores conclusions and axioms. So it's important to kind of dive into how these two compare. So both NI and SI can be called closed-minded because they are perceived that they already have the conclusions in their mind, and they can tend to appear judgmental. They both take so much time to build up their meanings, NI, and impressions, SI. If they are asked a question, they both have to look into their big book or minds, which store a lot of information. It will take some time for them to zoom back into specifics. So this can be SI and NI users can tend to want to take time and answering questions. It takes a long conversation to dive deep into why they have made their minds up about something. You will not know otherwise. Their experiences that have led them up to their conclusions over time. NISI is like the tip of the iceberg with all that other information underneath that others from the outside they do not have access to. So NI and SI are not particularly interested in speaking with the external world about how they came to their conclusions. They internalize things. So the NI and SI are introverted cognitive functions. So they tend to go within and internalize things. So both NE and SE need that and seem to really want to engage with others in that manner through speaking or writing. So NESE users, they are wanting to go out and experience their conclusions and ideas, and then also just their experiences in general with other people. So they are extroverted. So NI and SI may never reveal their framework or foundations upon why they make their decisions or why they cannot do things differently because it is very personal to them. SI has the stereotype about not liking change. So earth signs, for example, tend to not like change. But NI also has that issue. SI, with their impressions of how things are, when change is occurring, it'll activate their NE demon. And so when that's triggered, they are so anxious about all the many possibilities. So SI users, they're very set in their ways, and they can tend to not want to experience new things. They can get set in their routines, for example. So NI users, they can tend to get set in their ideas and set in their mind frame and not want to experience different ideas or beliefs, for example. So that can be an issue. Okay, so SI users already know they are not good at connecting ideas together into precise conclusions, and when change occurs, they won't be able to find those connections anymore. So for NI, they can idealize the meanings of things, and when they no longer believe in the meaning, it will really trip them up. When there is a shift in the meaning or purpose of the things, they will not do well with change. So yeah, and I can fully deep dive into a certain system or belief. For me, when I first grew up, I was raised in a strict Catholic environment. I went to private school. It was strict to a degree, but it was just like very bubble, like I was like, I lived in a hole, I would tell people. But I do tend to take what I learned seriously and then embody it. And then, like when I was a teenager, I had, just this experience of holy crap, everyone here in this church is an extreme hypocrite, and it kind of just slapped me in the face. And it was an adjustment, I should say. And even like through nutrition, like I body built for a long time. I took it extremely seriously. I took nutrition very seriously. I would weigh my food, I'd count my calories. I was just like, I dive in. Like when I learn something, I just dive all in, and I'm experimenting on my body and the lifestyle. And then it was like, it just smacks you in the face when you realize, oh, well, this isn't exactly healthy for me. And there's like it's like an identity shift. I think Aquarius isn't as bad at this, but Pisces are horrible at this. And that just like reminded me of, even in relationships, Aquarius and Pisces can like tend to not have as many connections like in their personal life. They love to network, don't get me wrong, but then in their personal life they only let a few select people in, and so they can tend to put all of their eggs in one basket. So that's that diving all in. And if they lose a relationship, they break up with somebody, it can take a serious long adjustment period to heal. That's just something to be aware of. They are extremely loyal personality types, and they throw their everything, every breath even, into what they do. So it can be rough. I remember one of my exes telling me, you should never throw all of your eggs in one basket. And that was like the biggest slap in the face I had ever heard up until that point. And I'm just like, isn't that what we do when we're in a relationship? Like, what do you mean? It took me a while to like sit on that, and I still have issues with that. It's like, yeah, but it's just who I am. So when they both encounter an environment, they both will have expectations. SI can seem uptight because things don't always go to plan, which will really throw them off. So the SI would be Taurus and Virgo. Virgo definitely stands out in my mind, as well as Capricorn. So those three signs have high SI. They're high SI users within their top four cognitive functions within their ego. So they do not they want to have plans, and when the plans are disrupted, they tend to freak out. I mean, it's a thing. They don't feel comfortable in that scenario, and they are definitely all about their physical comfort. So, NI and SI try to recreate what they already have in their head. They have an idea in their head, and they want to recreate the ideas physically. So, for Aquarius and Pisces, they have ideas in their head, and they want to bring that down into practical reality. That is what I'm doing with these videos. Trying to understand the personality types and the cognitive functions. So they are big dreamers, but they do want to bring their poetry, their songs, their art, whatever they're dreaming up in their heads, they do want to bring their creativity down into reality. That is like their life purpose. So extroverted sensing users, they use their senses to engage themselves, to laser focus on the information at hand. So the sensory details. They are the most connected with reality in this moment, especially with the sense of time. So SE users are like high SE users are the fire signs, and the fire signs are all about the present moment. They're very expressive in the present, but those are the signs that, like when we're told to meditate and we're trying to be here in the moment, like fire signs are already naturally really good at that. So like water and air signs, they can benefit a lot from meditation practices and yoga to try to get their anxiety, future focused minds out of their mind and head and back into their body. So, fire signs and high SE users are naturally connected to their body, as well as physical reality around them, as well as time. They are in tune with time. Low SE users, high NI users are not in tune with their environment in time or their physical body. So that's the biggest difference between NI and SE users. SE users will walk into the room and notice all the physical things. They can be overwhelmed by too much stimulation from people and can feel introverted at times. If they notice something is off, it's because they are looking at the details. So they are very conscious of what they wear and how it feels. They choose things based on how does this look, feel, how is this going to be functional throughout the day. They can take the physical world and make it aesthetically pleasing to them. They can be great at designing things to their own liking. They like to talk about planning to do things, but will actually do them, unlike NE users. Okay, so high SE users don't mind repetitive motion because they see it as getting better at the motion, but they do have issues with routine. They like the concrete world and like the facts of things. So concrete values, what does this actually do? So the real numbers, statistics, etc. They like to be able to make their own choices in the concrete physical world. They spend a lot more time doing things physically. They will pick one thing and go do it. So they high SE users, I've noticed, like the fire signs, for example, obviously they have more physical energy. They don't get drained. They're extroverts. They love people. They love to do things. They love to go out in the world. They are always wanting to experience new people, new places, new things. They just have a lot of like, let's go, 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 go energy. A lot of physical energy for sure. It's crazy. So, like me, for example, I'm an introvert and I have SE inferior. I struggle with being out, like for example when I'm at work, people drain the hell out of me and I can be physically drained easily. But how I combated that growing up, I was always very athletic, so I built my body up over about a 12-year period, seriously, lifting weights, and that always made me feel better. I was more in tune with my nutrition, with my sleep schedule, with recovery. You know, it was always a back and forth between building and recovering. So that is more an SE user type of thing to do, but I am appreciative of my hobbies and how I was raised, because although I do get drained, I still am able to function. And yeah, I do battle with physical body energy. I will crash all weekend and sleep ungodly amounts of um, time away because I am so exhausted. So I will admit that that is definitely still a battle for me. High SE users, on the other hand, I don't think that they crash like an NI user does energetically or around people. So that's just a major difference between the two. High SE users are naturally gifted at athletics, for example, just because they're more in tune with their body. They can really maneuver better with like soccer and softball, the smaller balls, for example. I was a volleyball, basketball, the bigger ball type. Like, I do not have that hand-eye coordination to kick around a softball or even to kick around a soccer ball. And then, yeah, we tend to have issues with, yeah, just never mind. Anyways, so high SE users are really good with hand-eye coordination in sports, for example, martial arts, stuff like that, boxing. SE versus NE, so extroverted perceivers, it is challenging for them to introspect, to figure out what they are doing. They take in objective, detailed information in their environment first thing. Okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so SE and NE, they're extroverts, so it's challenging for them to be introspective, to go within. They're always trying to fill that identity crisis. They are out and doing things. They don't reflect and internalize. So they both have a deep desire to engage with the environment, filtering through the five senses. So SE is all about taking in, going out to take in the five senses. They want to merge with it. FE and TE are judging functions. They want to control the environment, but NE and SE lose their boundaries of themselves and kind of melt into the environment. They can do this so much so they can forget they are part of it. It can make them feel introverted at times. And that would be true for probably Aries and Scorpios, and even Cancers, because they can, Cancers are extroverted, but they tend to go back in, and Geminis as well are like that. Okay, so extroverted sensing issues. No fire signs have high SI, which means they don't necessarily have a great long-term memory storage and access, and therefore most of their anxiety comes from fears and insecurities around their own future. NI inferior fears one's own future, so that's SE hero. NI inferior, it's still on the NI SE axis. So for example, this would be Aries and Leo, I do believe. NI inferior fears one's own future, seeing all the possibilities, abstracting them, would rather be in the here and now with physical reality, experiencing every bit of it, perhaps would rather be somewhat scattered within the physical, rather than trying to narrow down the abstract thoughts, feelings, and self-reflection, staying in motion for the sake of staying in motion and not actually getting somewhere. SE focuses on actively engaging with novel physical stimuli. It detects unique or striking sensory facts and details and responds to them quickly and efficiently in order to grasp any opportunity to interact with the positive aspects of the environment. When SE DOMs rely too heavily upon SE, they will identify with SE's activities, using their natural ability, confidence, and optimism to construct the foundation of their identity. Because of this, SE will feel continually threatened by the NI perspective because NI has the potential to disrupt or shatters one ego image. NI is focused on interpreting complex patterns and searching for deeper meaning in order to find personal direction and purpose in life. But SE tends to misinterpret NI as being dull, unrealistic, impractical, unnecessary, needlessly negative, or overcomplicating, or even missing the entire point of life. Being in the here and now, right? Instant gratification, that is the biggest issue of high SE users, or the fire signs. Ultimately, and ego, their identity. Hey, this is who I am, look at me. Ultimately, SE forcefully, can we say Trump, Donald Trump, he's a Leo? Hello? Pushing his identity. That's what the sun does. It's the sun. The sun can't help it, but, it gives life at the end of the day. Ultimately, SE forcefully rejects the NI perspective because it fears frittering away precious time that could be otherwise allocated to making the most out of one's life experience. And if one cannot live life to the fullest, then there really is no point in being alive. Therefore, unhealthy or immature SE DOMs do their utmost to reject NI in order to protect their ego image as a flexible, resilient, vibrant, and carefree person. When SE DOMs rely too heavily upon SE and suppress NI, they will develop an overly undisciplined or impetus attitude towards life. Instead of using NI appropriately, SE will use NI to seek out meaning and otherwise meaningful experiences. So in other words, SE will develop a maladaptive tendency to misattribute meaning in miscalculation or miscalculated implications, often misjudging the value of new things, new experiences, and as a result, chase after opportunities that are not actually worthwhile. So, NI inferior types can suffer from that internal confusion, inappropriate attribution of meaning, and grandiose vision. Alright, so that concludes my NISE video of today. I will be doing multiple videos in this section. I will even go through how NI and how SE plays out within the 12 personality types and the different cognitive functions, zero, parent, child, and inferior functions. So this is a SE is something that I've battled with. I know that I haven't battled as bad as like other Aquarius and Pisces. I was raised on a farm, so I've been very hands-on, four-wheeling, and I was kind of a risk taker. So, I wasn't as fearful of my environment as I know that other, Pisces suns and Aquarius suns or Pisces or Aquarius Mercuries deal with. And it's just something to be aware of. I guess it's been life-changing for me to a degree. It's just introverts, you just need to not be afraid to experience new things, new people, new places. I think that is like the biggest hurdle, is just living internally, closing yourself off and isolating. It can be hard to maintain relationships, friendships. Um, it's a very introverted, isolated thing when you're an NI hero, an SE inferior user. So just understanding how these things work and why you are the way you are can be definitely an eye opener. So I hope these videos help you out. Like and subscribe.